Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PackUp's latest Sustainable Packaging Innovations webinar. My name is Paul Jenkins, Managing Director of the PackUp. Hopefully I'm familiar to many of you, and welcome to anybody that's joining a PackUp webinar for the very first time. So what are we going to cover in the next hour? So as always, a very short introduction about the PackUp and who we are and what we do, and particularly focusing a little bit on the innovation zone. We're then going to split a selection of brand new sustainable packaging innovations into two sections. So we'll cover off some new innovations from our innovation zone platform in the first section, and then I'm delighted to be joined by Ginny Samuel and Johan Granås of Holmen Iggesund, and they will be talking about from sustainable Swedish forests to UK mill through to innovative packaging solutions. And delighted that Johan is actually reporting from a Swedish forest. So that's a first for our webinars, to actually have someone reporting live from a snow covered forest in Sweden. So more on that a bit later. We'll then cover off more sustainable packaging innovations. We'll then have a questions and answers section at about 10 to the hour, and then we'll finish off with details of our next event. So please get your questions in. Most of you should be familiar with the Zoom format. There's a Q&A box section, so please get your questions in, and we'll do our very best to either answer them live or as part of the webinar outputs. You will get a link to view this webinar tomorrow, and all our content is available on youtube.com/thepackup. And please, if you don't already, follow us on LinkedIn at the PackUp. So the PackUp, a leading packaging innovation consultancy, offering four main services: technical, project management, and support. We're about to relaunch this service. We've got 6 very capable packaging technologists at hand to help businesses with their packaging challenges. So more on that shortly. We do events, so obviously webinars and in-person events, reports. So our last packaging report was on refillable and reusable packaging compendium, and we've got a startup report coming out a week tomorrow. And last but not least is our innovation zone platform. We collate all the latest packaging innovations, 25 a week, nearly 8,000 initiatives loaded there from around the world. So a really good resource to find out what's going on in the market from a global point of view. So, right, let's look at some innovations. So these are some new sustainable packaging innovations from our innovation zone platform. These have all been collated really in the last month or so, so quite new, and hopefully many of these will be new to you. So the first one is from Arjo Wiggins, who we've been aware of for 3 or 4 years now. I think they presented at one of our events 2 or 3 years ago, and they're very much at the forefront of the translucent paper market. They have developed a solution called Silvicta, which is a fully recyclable, compostable, and marine degradable paper produced using only renewable raw materials. It is clean and naturally translucent, so it has some good applications to potentially replace plastic for when you need to see the product inside. It's got what makes this very good from a sort of a paper-based material is it's got a very good barrier against oxygen, aroma, and grease. It is obviously approved for direct contact. And what we got here is a specific application that they're looking to show people and what it can do. And this is a plastic-free butter wrap, providing excellent barrier properties and superior grease resistance. Unlike most butter wraps, the natural Silvicta butter wrap is recyclable in the paper stream and also compostable. It can also be combined with advanced coatings or ultra-thin aluminium coatings. So next up is reusable example. We're seeing lots of reuse and refillable packaging examples coming to our attention, both primary and sort of supply chain, secondary and tertiary packaging. So this is Del Monte, a very familiar brand to all of us. And they've partnered with New York's Arena Products to introduce reusable plastic containers, RPCs, for its fresh bananas. Sometimes it feels like we're reinventing solutions that we may have seen before. This RPC has specific attributes, which I'll come on to in a moment, that makes it a bit different. The RPCs are said to have a life cycle of up to 15 years and are expected to be reused up to 5 times a year. The move is anticipated to significantly lower food waste, carbon emissions, and as well as operational expenses, as well as preserve the health of the banana inside. A spokesperson for Del Monte said that after years of collaborative work, this RPC design not only reduces greenhouse gas emissions, but addresses fruit quality and pallet shipping density, ensuring sustainable impact at every level. One of the things it's got is an enhanced airflow to extend the shelf life. So they've got sort of holes in there to deliver that airflow solution. Next up is a startup. So this is one of the businesses that will be featured in our startup report out next Friday. So Reiku is an Estonian startup that has developed a protective packaging product alternative to PE bubble wrap. The company's product is made from sustainable wooden springs. So we've seen a few of these sort of paper-based protective products, but this is the first one we've sort of seen with this sort of spring effect. They've announced a series of funding, so they've got some money behind them to continue to grow their business. And the company's primary objective with the funding is to advance its chemical-free and compostable packaging material technology to establish its first factory and expand production on a global scale. It's entirely natural packaging materials with a lower CO2 footprint, although they don't go into the details of how much lower it is, to address the pressing issue of unrecyclable packaging waste ending up in landfills and nature. Next up, showing sort of right across the supply chain here, really. So this is Scott Pallets, based in Dunfermline in Scotland, and they've announced that they can now offer UK businesses pressboard pallets in various formats, offering an alternative pallet solution for storage and transportation requirements. They are offering these pallets in collaboration with Binderholz, the largest timber processor in Europe. Various standard UK pallet sizes are available. Pressboard pallets are made from sawdust and reprocessed recycled wood chips, then compression molded under high temperatures to form a dimensionally diverse and accurate wood composite product. This provides a natural wood finish with a clean, smooth surface and hard finished edges. The innovative and compact design is stackable, nestable, and comparatively lightweight, taking up significantly less storage and transportation space than conventional pallets. Next up, this might be familiar to you, as we've seen a few iterations of this, certainly on LinkedIn and in the packaging press, and also obviously in the innovation zone. So Absolute, following a 3-month trial in 22 Tesco stores around the Manchester area of the UK, are now launching its vodka in a paper bottle on the Swedish market, again in a limited edition to test the market. They're openly calling it a half-finished product with a fully finished plan, as the ultimate goal is to create a 100% bio-based bottle. The current bottle, as you can see here, is supplied by Danish paper bottle pioneers Paperboard, and it contains 57% FSC labeled board with an inner protective barrier consisting obviously of 43% HDPE, which is recyclable. Absolute's mission is very much to find more sustainable packaging solutions and reduce their environmental impact. So as I say, this is very much a work in progress, but they're really just sort of testing the market with various pilots this time in the Swedish market. So I think this has got a limited edition of 15,000 bottles. So they will sell out quite quickly, I would imagine. Next up is Quadpack. Now, Quadpack are a prolific innovator, in my opinion. They're constantly introducing new health and beauty and cosmetic packaging solutions into the market. Many are in the refill and reuse space. This caught my eye, not necessarily because it's a refill solution. We've seen quite a few of these sort of jars with an inner piece, an inner cartridge that could be ejected. But what I liked about this is the sort of consumer-friendly ejection that you can see from the base. It makes a nice sound, and it's just quite an obvious, overt way to deliver the necessary ejection of the inner piece that is the reusable element of it, or is replaced to be reused. So made entirely of polypropylene, the PP pop jar boasts apparently advanced levels of sustainability according to Quadpack's positive impact packaging rating system. The cap and outer jar can also incorporate up to 75% PCR or ocean-bound plastic, and life cycle assessments indicate significant improvements in water use and carbon footprint in the PCR versions, and it's available in various different sizes. Now, lots of reuse and refill examples in the market, so my presentation reflects that in some examples here. So Martin and Servera are Sweden's leading wholesaler and supplier to restaurants, and they've announced a partnership with And Repeat, the Stockholm-based digital reuse system reward system provider. So from January the 1st next year, a legal requirement will be introduced that anyone who sells more than 150 dishes or drinks in single-use packaging per day must offer the guest reusable packaging as an alternative. That's obviously for the Swedish market. So they formed a joint venture where customers are offered a user-friendly and affordable solution for reusable systems. The system works by the restaurant signs up for the And Repeat service. The restaurant's guests download an app, very familiar territory here. They order their food and beverages in reusable packaging and scan the QR code on the packaging at no extra cost. The guest returns the used packaging to a restaurant connected to And Repeat. The restaurant scans the QR code when returning used packaging, and it is then cleaned either by the restaurant or externally. They're claiming it could be reused up to 500 times. That just isn't going to happen even at 99% reuse rates. We're never going to get to a point of 500 reuses, to be perfectly honest. But still a good initiative nonetheless. Next up is F2 Servid, which is a Barcelona-based distributor of packaging products. Their product, Grip Pack, is a water-based, soluble and solvent-free liquid solution that prevents merchandise from slipping. It also has sort of palletization applications as well. So applied to small quantities in all types of paper bags and cardboard boxes, using Grip Pack avoids plastic waste when using products such as stretch film, stretch hoods, and non-slip sheets. It's not going to completely replace those pack formats. This will have some limitations, but it is a very interesting and innovative way to try and deliver stable pallets in this form. So the components with which this product is manufactured come from the food industry, so are effectively biodegradable. And F2 Servid say that the Grip Pack is one of the most innovative, clean and economical systems for safe palletizing, avoiding claims and keeping pallets in a perfect condition. Next up is Adelphi, which is exploring a 100% PET alternative or a solution combining PP or PE, polyethylene, for the potential to recycle blister packs, medical blister packs. So this is a huge area hundreds of millions of these blister packs are sold around the world. We have tracked quite a few initiatives, monomaterial type solutions, and even a paper-based one to try and deliver recyclability. And I think Tetra Pak have got a solution with Aldi, I think it is, a retailer for take-back collection scheme. Yeah, so this is looking at potential solutions to sort of reduce the aluminium requirement for blister packs. So very much a work in progress from Adelphi, who are working, as always. Collaboration is the key way forward, and they're working on a way to deliver eventually viable, cost-effective, recyclable blister packs into the market. And last up, before we hear from Holmen, is a smart and intelligent packaging solution. So this is another startup called Pulpatronics, and they've developed a chipless, metal-free, paper-only version of an RFID, a radio frequency identification tag, which is a type of electronic tag tracker that is attached to products and which is most commonly found in clothing stores, but does have applications in packaging, very useful in the reuse sector as well. The team of 4 of design graduates from London College, Royal College of Art, came up with this alternative RFID design that apparently requires no other materials than paper. They've used a laser to mark a circuit onto the surface, with the laser settings tuned not to cut or burn the paper, but to change its chemical composition to make it conductive. As the circuit is carbon-based, the tag could be recycled with household waste as easily as a piece of paper marked with a pencil scrawl. So that's quite an interesting and exciting innovative innovation, in my opinion. Probably quite a way away from market implementation, but credit to the 4-person team for developing something that is recyclable. One more innovation I did lie to, sorry, before we hear from our guest. So this is Mondi, who have collaborated with VT to launch the UK's first paper-based packaging for dry rice. VT's new rice packaging has been created using Mondi's familiar functional barrier paper, providing a safe, secure and strong alternative to the industry standard plastic packs. We are tracking, sorry, I got the wrong slide. We are tracking quite a few paper-based initiatives in this area, moving from plastic into paper solutions, which on the whole are obviously recyclable. Yeah, so that is one of the sort of the trends that we're continuing to see, is a switch from plastic into paper, more often than not validated by life cycle analysis or CO2 emission reductions to quantify and validate the change. Okay, that's probably enough of me for now. You probably need a break. So over to, very delighted to introduce you to Ginny and Johan from Holmen Iggesund. And they got a double act now, where we're going to hear from both of them. And as I said, Johan is outside in snowy Sweden, I think 3 hours north of Stockholm, if my geography is correct. So I will, I will stop sharing.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
I think, sorry, Ginny, if you could just share your screen.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
It is, and I will.
Perfect.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking the time and allowing us to speak. For those who don't know me, I'm Ginny Samuel. I work for Holmen Iggesund Paperboard. My role is within future packaging, and I talk to the brand owners, talking about specification, talking about sustainability, everything to do with board. As Paul has already said, we're going to be, yep.
Sorry, Ginny, can you just share your full screen?
Sorry,
sorry to interrupt you.
Problem. No, it's much appreciated. So yeah, Johan's going to show live from the forest. It's quite dark up there at this time of year, but an amazing experience. I'm going to turn my camera off now while I run through a few slides, and then we will go on to him. Okay, so we're going to cover what we're going to cover today and a brief agenda. If my screen would change. Don't we love the technology? Come on. Hopefully it will change and show you the slides, otherwise this will be a very blue project. But the agenda today is touch on our products, a trip into the forest, the importance of thinking about CO2 when you're considering what board you're choosing, and sustainability collaborations. Now, I have no idea why this is not clicking through. We have done umpteen practices. There we go. Don't ask me why it didn't work the same way as it has previously. These things are sent to testers, considering we've had umpteen years on COVID and doing lots of things by Zoom. But anyway, we now have it going forward. So we make the board, not the packaging, we make board. And we have a number of family of products. These are Invercote, Incada, and Inverform. Our Invercote material is made in our mill in Sweden. It's a solid bleach board. It's our highest quality paperboard, very strong, high whiteness, and has limitless designability. Incada, this is made in our mill in the UK and is a folding box board, fantastically consistent product with great whiteness, high stiffness to weight ratio, which is important when you're making packaging. Inverform is our newest product. It's also made in Sweden. It's an uncoated SBB, which has great stretch. We originally designed this for the ready meal trays, but while we've been working with it, we found we have many other opportunities, especially when you think about what Paul's just covered there, where board can be used when it's stretchy to replace other things. All our products are fully recyclable. They're made from renewable energy and have FSC or PEFC certification. Okay, as a company, we've been growing with nature since 1685, and it's in our DNA to look after the forests as it's vital to our business and our survival. When you think about what is used in our process, so this is the part that you're making board from, okay, we only take from the tops of the trees, but also the bits around the edges from the timber industry. So as you can see from the center picture here, there's quite a bit of waste from around the outside, because this image is where you would put slices all the way through to make planks that then go into building a home. But those edges aren't used for anything, so that gets used in our process to make pulp and paper. And so fresh fiber is vital for the planet, as a well-managed forest stores carbon. When you produce wood products, they capture the carbon and lock it in for the life of whatever product it becomes. The paper and board industry is therefore a byproduct of the building industry. There is concern around forests, and if we're taking too much, which is obviously not just a European but a global concern. Within our own forests, we plant at least 3 or 4 trees for every tree we fell. And for over a century, there's been legislation which has obliged anybody who's harvesting trees to replant them. And when we replant, we don't just limit it to commercial species, the ones that are valuable to us. We also plant native species to ensure biodiversity and also a more pleasant environment for recreation, because that has grown a lot over the last few years. Specifically in the UK have, if you added up every company using wood from UK forests, we're only using 70% of the annual growth. Some traditional sectors like newsprint, we've seen a global decline. And therefore, there's a net volume growth in timber, as we're always taking less than is growing. We work with many brands in the electronics, cosmetics, pharma and food sector. And we recently achieved the platinum sustainability rating with EcoVadis for both our mills, which we're very, very proud of. We've found that conscious brands like visiting our mill to experience what goes into making board and learning about our process, which in turn enhances their own sustainability work. One of these customers was Tim Cook from Apple, who came to check out that everything was in order and to learn for himself more about sustainability the Holmen Iggesund way. However, we can't always bring everybody to the forest, so we're going to take you now on a live feed. Right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass you over. Johan, over to you.
Hi, Ginny. Hi.
Hi there.
Welcome to Sweden, everyone. As I think Ginny said, if you think it's dark where you are, welcome to the northern parts of Sweden. It is pitch black in here. So I'll have to get away from the warming fire here, and I'll show you what we mean with renewable packaging, what we mean when we say that we are producing a renewable product. So follow me a little bit here. Can you hear me well, Ginny?
We can hear you.
Yes,
yeah, that's
sorry,
good.
I'd muted
That's
myself.
good.
Yeah.
So here we are. My name is Johan Granås. I work with sustainability for Holmen Iggesund. I'm joined here by two of my partners who is behind the camera and behind the light, because as I said, it's very dark in here. We are about, 5 miles from the mill producing the Invercote and Inverform products. And we are standing in a somewhat middle-aged or adolescent forest, rather a young forest. So these trees here, they will be standing here another 50, 60, maybe 70 years more, in order for them to become larger timber for sawn timber production. As Ginny was saying, the prime focus is to produce wood for sawn timber for building houses, and these days it's becoming much more modern, producing a building out of wood for also larger structures. There are hotels, there's theaters, and there's other things more and more being built out of wood. And the leftover parts, we make pulp from, pulp that is used to produce packaging paper that can be used to replace fossil packaging instead. And of course, the bar, things like that, we use for energy. So we tend to use the whole tree. So this is rather young forest, maybe 30 years old or so, and still it has a lot of growing to do. It's standing here, picking up carbon and growing. That's what it's doing. I wanted to show you also the start of the circle of life, if you call it that, in the forest. So we will walk a bit over here. So come on with me. We'll try to stay away from the fire, even though I was kind of liking it. So over here, we have, right on the other side, there is a younger forest. This has been harvested. This area was harvested 5-6 years ago, and now we have replanted, and the new trees are coming up. And these are pine trees. This is a pine tree here planted, same as we were looking at. And pine trees, when they are young, they produce one layer of branches per year. So we can see for ourselves how old this is. So if you come down here, so this is the first layer of branches here. So this is year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. So this is a 5-year-old pine tree standing next to me here. And so this area has been replanted with pine trees that are of a similar age. They are growing a little bit unsync. Some are faster and some are slower, but they're producing the same amount of wood. So here we are planting pine trees, but of course there's also other things coming on a harvested site. Here, for example, I saw these are raspberries. This is raspberry here. That's coming up. So in terms of biodiversity, there is a whole lot of different plants coming up on a harvested site. And that is also something that animals really like. here in Sweden. We have a lot of moose in this area. We have a lot of moose, and I can show you here this poor birch here. This was a lot larger a while ago, but now somebody's been munching away, eating all of the small branches here. So this has been eaten by a moose here. And I think if you walk over here, you can also see that the pine trees are being a bit affected as well. Here you can even, I don't know if you can see, but here are the tracks from the perpetrator. So here, these are tracks for the moose here. And it has been eating the bark down here. Part of the bark was eaten by the moose, and you can see it's been damaged here as well. The moose has been pruning it a bit. Of course, we have to keep the moose population under control, otherwise it has a tendency to be a bit too much. So there's something else I wanted to show you. So bear with me a second here. We're walking over, when we're doing harvesting, we want to make sure that we do the best we can to maintain biodiversity. And this is one example of things that we are doing. This is a dead tree here, but if we look on top of it, or at the top of it, we can see, I hope you guys can see as well, even though it's dark, you can see the stars above it, at least I can. But you can see that it's been cut off. So we have on purpose cut this tree off and left half of it standing here, rotting away. And that's because trees like this, if we can get a little bit more light maybe here, maybe you can see here that these are holes from wood-eating insects here. So after the tree is dead, it is still a kind of an engine in terms of biodiversity. So these are wood-eating insects that then thrive here, attracting woodpeckers, other birds. So this becomes sort of like a reactor or engine of biodiversity. There is also, I think, if we come around on this side a little bit, guys, here is a wood-eating fungi as well, breaking down the wood structure. This was not here when the tree was alive. This has come here after it has been dead, or it's died. So this is also a way of increasing biodiversity, leaving dead wood standing in the forest like this. So that's one of the things that we are doing. And now I will be a bit troublesome with you and move over here. Because this, as I said, is a younger forest where we will be waiting for quite some time. This will not be, my children will not see when this is harvested. Maybe my grandchildren will. But I want to show you something that both my children and my grandchildren will benefit from, because when we are harvesting, you can see all of these younger trees here. All of the trees will be of a similar age. So they will be of this age structure, the absolute majority on this site. But in order to break the age structure up, we leave trees, significantly larger trees, like this one, we leave standing among its younger siblings. We leave this one, this is maybe 100 years old, and it was left here on purpose. This holds a significant financial value, but in terms of biodiversity, it needs to stay here. We need some grown trees to stay here, because there are both animals and birds that are dependent on older trees. Nesting birds, for example, a lot of the predator birds, they only nest in older trees like this. And with a tree like this, they have a fantastic vantage point over a younger forest. So we leave in an area like a couple of football fields, we leave one or two of these standing. So next time they will be in harvesting here, these are already now 100 years old. They will be about 200 years old then, standing here. This is a pine tree, has a very good root system. So it can stand here even though you have storms and things, and it's a lot more exposed now compared to when it had a lot of other trees of similar age around it. So these are some of the things that we are doing to make sure that we take care of the forest. We are regenerating the forest. As Ginny said, we have been around since 1685, so we have more or less 350 years of experience in producing more wood, taking care of the forest in order to have something to live off of. The word sustainability was not invented then, but to be sustainable means to be there for the future, to be there for in the long run. And I think that we have proven this and keep proving it with things like this. Now, with this said, the Swedish forestry, and I guess forestry throughout the world, is developing step by step. So if we come back in 20, 30, 40 years, I am sure that we will then say, well, we have improved even further. We have developed, we have gained experience, gained knowledge on how to do things. So step by step, we are learning. Sweden is a forest country. There are very strong legislations, and there is also a big development field in Sweden in forestry. So we're very proud of that. So I'm also very proud to be sharing this with you guys. I will stay on. I won't stay on. I will walk over to the fire to warm up a little bit, and then if you got questions, fire away, and then we'll get questions after Ginny concluded in a little while. So over to you, Ginny.
Thank you. That was absolutely fantastic. Let me just share my screen again. Okay. Hopefully you can all see that and can hear me. Okay. After the joys of the forest, what I'd like people to do when they're thinking about what board they want to use for their packaging, it's important that you start thinking about how the mill you're buying from is powered. Is it fossil fuel powered, or is it renewable energy that powers it? Because this makes a big difference to the CO2 figures of your product. So a quick slide just briefly shows a number of mills, and this came from the published data that these companies put out on their annual reports, that shows the difference in CO2 for scope 1 and scope 2, that choosing the mill that you buy from can make a huge impact. I said I'd be covering some sustainable collaborations, and I want to touch on a couple today. The first, it isn't with sheep, it's with local farmers to the mill in Workington in the UK. What we found was they have quite a lot of unproductive land, too wet to grow crops, and we put a biomass in our process to ensure that we were fossil fuel emission free, and so we spoke to all these farmers, and we were able to help them turn valuable land by growing willow, which is an energy crop, which we can then use in our biomass. So we help them plant, we help them harvest, we help manage it all for them, and we give them long-term contracts as well, so they have that security. It gave local farmers additional sources of revenue and also reduced and slowed down flooding, which, if anyone remembers, anyone in the UK will do, the area where our mill is has a propensity for flooding. Another very interesting project is something called Fluticam. Okay, this is again at our mill in Workington, where we have a carbon capture project. It's with 15 companies throughout the supply chain, raw material to finished goods, and local companies that produce CO2 during their process, like ourselves, like Tata Steel. For us, we're producing biogenic CO2, not fossil CO2, but it's still good to capture that carbon. And throughout this process, there's universities involved, and then there are companies that can take that carbon dioxide and turn it into a surfactant. And then companies like Reckitt, Unilever, P&G, Tata Steel use the surfactants in their process so they can take that final product. It's a fabulous 2-year project to prove the concept. The idea being that hopefully we will help make the UK meet its 2050 net zero targets. A number of other people we've collaborated on. We like to do, those are big projects to do with the mills, but this is now with some of our products. So everybody is looking for as sustainable products as possible. Cutlery, okay, we've done kind of a move into wood as the first one, and now board is sort of coming into its own. I don't know about you guys, but I think the wood texture when you put it in your mouth is not the most pleasant experience. So if we can get maybe a board one that is preferable, that can be good. It's an excellent alternative. This middle one, is a blister pack. Paul touched on one earlier. We've made a marketing tool which shows an alternative to a plastic blister pack, and we filled it with water and sealed it, because water is vital to life, but also we use a lot in our process, and we wanted to show that we only borrow it, and it's only surface water that we borrow and then return it. So this is a concept that we can share with people. The third one on this picture is an alternative vac forming. We have our board product, we had it flocked and then formed, and this could be a luxury alternative to a vac forming. Three other concepts, and these are using pulp. The first is something we call conic, which for those of you who see our feeds on LinkedIn will have seen some of these, but we've created a molded fiber cup, and it's to help with renewable, because you can have the base and everything within this was made from renewable sources, but the cup is on our material and could be a cosmetics cup holding 50 centilitres. The middle one is something called Choco, and this was a wet molded fresh fibre tray, and again for a replacement to vac formings. The last one is Terrific, and this was targeting the cosmetics and it's a travel companion. There's a lot of a trend going towards dry cosmetics, so we created 3 dry cosmetics that could sit in this. But we're not only about out there concepts, some underutilized concepts like embossing and debossing, matte and gloss varnishes are something I think people, when they're looking at what they can do with their packaging to make it more sustainable, these you can see even in this medium rather than in the physical medium, what an amazing emboss you can get on board. And then my last slide is, it isn't only about packaging or new concepts. 9 out of 10 people would probably pick a square box for their packaging, which is a fine and a really good sustainable choice. But board packaging doesn't only have to be square. You know, it doesn't have to be unimaginative. You can see on here a range of constructions, and that's one of the big benefits of our materials, limitless designability. So I hope if you guys have seen anything that's of interest, then feel free to get in touch and I'd happily have a chat about it. Paul, I will now hand back to you.
Thank you very much, Ginny. An excellent presentation, and really great to see a live broadcast from a snowy plantation in Sweden. So thank you very much for that. Please, audience, don't be shy in your questions. We're going to have a Q&A in about 5 to 6 minutes. So please get your questions in, and we'll do our very best to answer them. So I'm now going to share my screen, so hopefully that's all okay. So I will cover off these quite quickly because I'm keen to that we finish on time and we have an opportunity for some questions and answers. So next up is a familiar territory. So Walkers have announced, after a successful trial in 800 stores in Tesco earlier this year, it will be moving to a paper outer bag for its crisp and snack multi-packs, claiming to save 180 tons of virgin plastic a year. The paper bag can be widely recycled in home recycling bins. So that's all across their range. So we've seen lots of, as I mentioned before, paperization, switching from plastic materials into either paper bags like this or even corrugated boxes in this sector. Next up is Amcor capsules, and they've announced a reduction of the carbon footprint of their aluminium screw cap by up to 35% when compared to the standard screw cap. And it's been made possible through the introduction of up to 46% recycled aluminium and the careful selection of low carbon primary aluminium, which is certified and independently verified in the manufacturing process. So I will keep that to a minimum. But again, we're sort of seeing lots of headlines and lots of statements and lots of objectives about carbon footprint reductions, and that has been a bit of a change in recent times, which I think ultimately is what the game is all about, reducing the impact on the environment. Australia is a big compostable market for various reasons. And what we've got here is a business called Great Wrap that have introduced into the market a 100% compostable pallet wrap. And for this case, they're working with Australian organic food wholesaler Spiral Foods. The companies work closely with Great Wrap to test and trial its product to ensure it met local international pallet shipping standards. And Spiral Foods are very pleased with the solution. With compostable packaging, you need an effective end of life scenario. So there is an opportunity potentially in sort of the pallet market to ensure that when it gets to the end user, that it can be got rid of in the right way. This is from Cabinet Health, a US-based business, and they've got a Cabinet Health RX, which is a direct-to-consumer healthcare service for pharmacy, and they've got a refillable glass bottle solution. So this is quite unusual for the sort of pharmaceutical and nutraceutical market. So alongside prescription refills, the platform offers discounted over-the-counter medicine, healthcare support, and a range of sustainable packaging options. There are 3 months of beta testing. The service has got a waiting list of over apparently 26,000 patients, with more than 66% of US adults on multiple prescriptions annually. The initiative addresses both patient care and issues of packaging waste with this reusable glass bottle solution. So we're seeing sustainability across all sectors. We've seen some beverage, food, health and beauty, household, and here we've got some consumer goods items that are switching to 100% recycled paper. So this is Versuni, used to be Philips Domestic Appliance, and they're basically switching their range of products here to 100% recycled paper in collaboration with DS Smith. It's quite an interesting one. We have almost by coincidence, a lot of stuff from Sweden today, which is brilliant. Obviously, the broadcast as well as 3 or 4 examples. So Stockholm-based Fiberstrap is a startup which is launching a sustainable cable tie made primarily from wood fibers. So their aim is to replace a single-use fossil-based plastic cable tie. So the cord is made from almost 100% craft paper, 99.9% from Nordic wood fibers. And to prevent abrasion, the cord is treated with a negligible amount of PE wax, 0.1%. The biocomposite lock contains 50% PLA, 20% hemp, and 30% PBAT. So that's quite an interesting alternative to plastic. This is, we've seen lots of bag-in-box solutions over the years, and the emphasis, the marketing and the communication has been less about user convenience and functionality, and more about the potential sustainability advantages of moving to this format. Now, the main one is obviously around lightness, weight reduction. So this new packaging from Maison Orphée in Canada, and the new packaging is reported to be almost obviously 10 times lighter than a glass bottle, which has obvious CO2 emission during transportation advantages. In addition, the cardboard in the bag are fully recyclable, offering double protection against oxidation. And the packaging format also represents a 10 to 12% saving for consumers compared to the same quantity of the bottle. So that's now available in 550 retailers throughout Canada. Mentioned the transition from plastic to paper. It's happening a lot in sort of multi-pack collations. So we've seen a lot of it in the beverage sector, but also in food packaging applications. WestRock have been very busy, along with some other major suppliers in this area. They've got a number of different iterations, a number of different sort of solutions to collate packaging. This is called Cluster Clip, and it's a fiber-based clip solution for bundling small and large jars in a range of shapes, sizes, weights, and multi-pack configurations. There's also an option. There's some other solutions called Custom Coat and Carrier Coat that offer slightly different functional benefits. This is from Danish bakery group Landmannen Unibake, and they've collaborated with Adera and UPM specialty papers to move to a corrugated case with a barrier paper inner liner, eliminating the need for plastic bags inside the case. Note the very overt consumer language here, no more plastic bags, and making it very clear as to how this change has an advantage to consumers. So the last innovation before we take some questions is from Purcell, who are a Santa Cruz, California startup, and they've announced the launch of the M1 dispenser, which it says is an innovative and practical bulk food dispenser. Shoppers can have access to a diverse selection of foods, from chips and cookies to grains, nuts, dried fruits and spices, and confectionaries. Customers can dispense their required quantity, eliminating food waste and saving money. At the heart of the M1 dispenser is a state-of-the-art technology equipped with automatic product identification and portion control. It ensures a hygienic and convenient shopper experience. Okay, so let's get cameras on again, please. I will stop sharing. How's that? Look at that. Yeah. Johan?
Oh, hello. All good. Thank you for that, Paul. It was
Brilliant.
great.
Thank you. Right, some questions. I've got a question. It's amazing I've been on this earth so long and not really understood a major part of the paper production process, and that's my failing. But one question sort of around the process. I mean, how do you go about the replanting? I mean, how does that all work?
I'll let Johan answer that one.
Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, good. Well, replanting is basically manual work. So most of these trees here, they have been manually planted here as seedlings. We farm seedlings at nurseries till they're about 2 years, and then you put them manually into the ground one by one. So that's quite tedious work, but we have found that that's far superior to any mechanized methods. And there is also you can also spread seeds, but spreading seeds you kind of lose 2 years. They need to start growing and so on. So it slows down the whole regeneration process. You get the same result, but it's a bit slower. So that's why almost everything here in Sweden, where I'm standing, 95% of all regeneration is done via planting of, and mainly pine trees. This is a pine tree here. And then pine and spruce are the main things. There is a little bit planting of other things as well, but those are the absolute dominating species of trees in Sweden. They represent 90% of the trees or something.
Excellent.
So that's manual work, and it takes place about 2 years after harvesting. The first year after harvesting, you have a lot of dead and dying wood, which means it attracts a lot of insects. And these insects, if you were to plant seedlings this at the same time, those seedlings would be prey for the insects. So that's why usually you wait a year to everything to settle, and maybe the second summer after harvesting, you're doing the replanting then.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm determined to squeeze in one or maybe even two more questions in the last 3 minutes if we can. And maybe this question is a bit too difficult to answer quickly, but we've got a question. I mentioned quite a lot about switching from plastic to paper, and obviously there's a very consumer-friendly element to that. The paper has a very positive image compared to plastic. But how much is your business sort of using sort of data and sort of carbon footprint analysis and LCAs to support those changes? I mean, obviously, Ginny, you mentioned it in your presentation. It's not a quick answer, but some of the presentations some of the examples
I think it is a rather quick answer, to be honest, Paul, because we are using a lot of that. We are trying to base basically all of our argumentation on factual basis. Obviously, we are producing carbon footprints for all of our products and have been doing so since 2008. The process has been developing year by year, getting more and more accurate, mainly getting more data from our suppliers on for example, the chemicals included and so on, getting more accurate data from them. So I would say that today we have a carbon footprint. You can go log on to our website and you can find the carbon footprint for our products. We also assist a lot of our customers and clients with real data, also in terms to full transport emissions to their site as well, in order for them to include it in their own calculations in terms of the climate load of their packaging. So I think that has escalated. I think the last year we have seen a tremendous increase in demand for real figures and also third-party verified figures on your climate emissions, and that I think is a really healthy development. It's much more factual based and much less of the greenwashing claims, I feel.
Yeah, an excellent answer done very quickly, considering how complex it is. So thank you for that. One last question before we close. Question around, can you tell us what the impact is when bleaching board to make it white compared to brown board? I mean, maybe that's a question for Ginny.
Yeah, it weakens the fibers when you move from one to the other. They're the same process, but solid bleach board has the bleaching, the craft board doesn't. So it weakens it slightly, which is why it then gets used in different things. You will end up with a little bit more yellower product, even when you put the coatings on top, but a stronger product when it's got the brown back, which is why it gets used in carry packs and things like that. When you do bleach it, it's a little bit weaker, but then you get a fabulous surface. You can see with samples here, limitless designability. I thought I'd pick this one, a Christmas display. This was our Christmas card a few years ago. So you can create very good things with design. Brilliant.
Thank you, and an excellent answer. Both of you, thank you very, very much for your time. Thoroughly enjoyable and really good to, as I say, to have an outside broadcast like that. So we're coming to the end now. Just to say that we'll be back next month, focusing on packaging startups. So Tuesday, the 12th of December at 3 p.m. We will be supplying the video recording from today's broadcast, as well as contact details for both my colleagues. So thank you very much for your attention today, and I hope you enjoyed today's webinar and look forward to seeing you again next month. Thank you.
Thank you all.